Action potentials in cardiac muscle. The action potential recorded in a ventricular muscle fiber, shown in figure 9.3, averages about 1.5 millivolts, which means that the intracellular potential rises from a very negative value, about minus 85 millivolts, between beats to a slightly positive value, about plus 20 millivolts during each beat. After the initial spike, the membrane remains depolarized for about zero point 0.2 seconds, exhibiting a plateau as shown in the figure, followed at the end of the plateau by abrupt repolarization. The presence of this plateau in the action potential causes ventricular contraction to last as much as 15 times as long as in cardiac muscle as in skeletal muscle. What causes the long action potential and the plateau? At this point, we must ask these questions. Why is the action potential of cardiac muscle so long? And why does it have a plateau, whereas that of the skeletal muscle does not? The basic biophysical answer to these questions were presented in chapter 5, but they merit summarizing here as well. At least two major differences between the membrane properties of cardiac and skeletal muscle account for the prolonged action potential and the plateau in cardiac muscle. First, the action potential of skeletal muscle is caused almost entirely by sudden opening of large number of so-called fast sodium channels that allow tremendous number of sodium ions to enter the skeletal muscle fiber from the extracellular fluid. These channels are called fast channels because they remain open for only a few thousandths of a second and then abruptly close. At the end of this closure, repolarization occurs, and the action potential is over within another thousandths of a second or so. In cardiac muscle, the action potential is caused by opening of two types of channels. The same fast sodium channels as those in skeletal muscle, and two, another entirely different population of slow calcium channels, which are also called calcium sodium channels. This second population of channels differ from the fast sodium channels in that they are slower to open and, even more important, remain open for several tenths of a second. During this time, a large quantity of both calcium and sodium ions flow through these channels to the interior of the cardiac muscle fiber, and this maintains a prolonged period of depolarization, causing the plateau in action potential. Further, the calcium ions thus enter during this plateau phase, activate the muscle contractile process, while the calcium ions that cause skeletal muscle contraction are derived from the intracellular sarcoplasmic reticulum. The second major functional difference between cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle that helps account for both the prolonged action potential and its plateau is this. Immediately after the onset of the action potential, the permeability of the cardiac muscle membrane for potassium ions decreases about 5-fold, an effect that does not occur in skeletal muscle. This decreased potassium permeability may result from excess calcium influx through the calcium channels just noted. Regardless of the cause, the decreased potassium permeability greatly decreases the outflux of positively charged potassium ions during the action potential plateau and thereby prevents early return of the action potential voltage to its resting level. When the slow calcium sodium channels do close at the end of 0.2 to 0.3 second and the influx of calcium and sodium ions ceases, the membrane permeability for potassium ions also increases rapidly. This rapid loss of potassium from the fiber immediately returns the membrane potential to its resting level. thus ending the action potential. Velocity of signal conduction in cardiac muscle. The velocity of conduction of the excitatory action potential signal along both atrial and ventricular muscle fibers is about 0.3 to 0.5 meter per second, or about 1 by 250th the velocity in very large nerve fibers and about 1 by 10 the velocity in skeletal muscle fibers. The velocity of conduction in specialized heart conductive system, the Purkinje fibers, is as great as 4 meter per second in most parts of the system, which allows reasonably rapid conduction of excitatory signal to different parts of the heart, as explained in chapter 10. Refractory period of cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle, like all excitable tissue, is refractory to restimulation during the action potential. Therefore, the refractory period of the heart is the interval of time as shown to the left in figure 9.4, during which a normal cardiac impulse cannot re-excite an already excited area of cardiac muscle. The normal refractory period of ventricle is 0.25 to 0.3 second, which is about the duration of the prolonged plateau action potential. There is an additional relative refractory period of about 0.05 second, during which the muscle is more difficult than normal to excite, but nevertheless can be excited by a very strong excitatory signal, as demonstrated by early premature contraction in the second example of figure 9.4. The refractory period of atrial muscle is much shorter than that for the ventricles, about 0.15 second for the atria compared with 0.25 to 0.3 seconds for the ventricles. Excitation contraction coupling. Function of calcium ions and the transverse tubules. The term excitation contraction coupling refers to the mechanism by which the action potential causes the myofibrils of muscle to contract. This was discussed for skeletal muscle in chapter 7. Once again, there are differences in this mechanism in cardiac muscle that have important effects on the characteristic of cardiac muscle contraction. As is true for skeletal muscle, when an action potential passes over the cardiac muscle membrane, the action potential spreads to the interior of the cardiac muscle fiber along the membranes of the transverse T-tubules. The T-tubule action potential, in turn, acts on the membranes of the longitudinal sarcoplasmic tubules to cause release of calcium ions into the muscle sarcoplasm from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. In another few thousandths of a second, these calcium ions diffuse into the myofibrils and catalyze the chemical reactions that promote sliding of the actin and myosin filaments along one another. This produces the muscle contraction. This mechanism of excitation contraction coupling is the same as that for skeletal muscle, but there is a second effect that is quite different. In addition to the calcium ions that are released into the sarcoplasm from the cisternae of the sarcoplasmic reticulum, a large quantity of extra calcium ions also diffuse into the sarcoplasm from the T-tubules themselves at the time of the action potential. Indeed, without the extra calcium from the T-tubules, the strength of the cardiac muscle contraction would be reduced considerably, because the sarcoplasmic reticulum of cardiac muscle is less well developed than that of skeletal muscle and does not store enough calcium to provide full contraction. Conversely, the T-tubules of cardiac muscle have a diameter 5 times as great as that of skeletal muscle tubules, which means a volume of 25 times as great. Also, inside the T-tubules is a large quantity of mucopolysaccharides that are electronegatively charged and bind an abundant store of calcium ions, keeping these always available for diffusion to the interior of cardiac muscle fiber when a T-tubule action potential appears. The strength of contraction of cardiac muscle depends to a great extent on the concentration of calcium ions in the extracellular fluids. The reason for this is that the openings of T-tubules pass directly through the cardiac muscle cell membrane to the extracellular spaces surrounding the cells, allowing the same extracellular fluid that is in the cardiac muscle interstitium to percolate through the T-tubules as well. Consequently, the quantity of calcium ion in the T-tubule system, that is, the availability of calcium ions to cause cardiac muscle contraction, depends to a great extent on the extracellular fluid calcium ion concentration. By the way of contrast, the strength of skeletal muscle contraction is hardly affected by the moderate changes in extracellular fluid calcium concentration because skeletal muscle contraction is caused almost entirely by calcium ions released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum inside the skeletal muscle fiber itself. The end of the plateau of the cardiac action potential, the influx of calcium ions to the interior of the muscle fiber is suddenly cut off, and the calcium ions in the sarcoplasm are rapidly pumped back out of the muscle fibers into both the sarcoplasmic reticulum and the T-tubule extracellular fluid space. As a result, the contraction ceases until a new action potential comes along. Duration of contraction. Cardiac muscle begins to contract a few milliseconds after the action potential begins and continues to contract until a few milliseconds after the action potential ends. Therefore, the duration of contraction of cardiac muscle is mainly a function of the duration of the action potential, including the plateau, about 0.2 second in atrial muscle and 0.3 second in the ventricular muscle.